Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? We are going to get started here. I was muted there for a second. This is the N2 Network of Networks webinar. This is put on by Barbara Medlin and Don Richards of N2. And before we begin, I'm going to just do a little introduction. Barbara Medlin is the communications specialist for N2 with a background in visual and written communication. She has extensive experience in strategic marketing and brand management. Her role with N2 is to manage communication channels and ensure information about tools and resources available are easily accessible and understood within the network of N2 member organizations. Through an open discussion, she is taking feedback and streamlining existing content to ensure material is easily digestible and able to be used quickly and efficiently. Don Richards is the business development specialist for N2. Don has been with N2 since 2014, starting as the project manager for the clinical trials education and awareness committee and moving into her current role in 2016. Don interacts with both existing and potential new members and stakeholders to ensure there is an awareness of benefits and resources that come with membership, that feedback from current members is incorporated into how N2 operates and the resources it offers, and that relationships are developed with other like-minded organizations in the clinical research environment. Now, before I hand it off to our presenters, I am recording this, so just email me if you would like a copy of the recording or the slides. And because there are a lot of attendees for the Q&A at the end or during long pauses, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat box. But if they do get overwhelming, Don and Barb are going to go over this. They'll probably put a little sheet together for afterwards. So yeah, okay, take it away, Don and Barb.
Okay. Thank you, Caleb. This is Dawn speaking, and on behalf of Barbara, myself, and N2, we're delighted to have the opportunity to present to you today. As Caleb mentioned, we are happy to take questions in the chat box, and there will be some section breaks where we can go ahead and answer questions related to that section. And as time permits, we'll answer as many questions as we can. Otherwise, we can collect the questions from Caleb and put out a little email response. Our colleague Shelley King is also on the line, and Shelley's also offered after the call, if you have other questions, to please send her an email. And Shelley's email information will be shown closer to the end of the presentation. So we're going to start things off here. Caleb did a nice job of introducing Barb and myself to you, and those are just some visuals so you can see who we are, and our contact information is here for you. Our phone numbers will come later on as well. Barb, did you want to add anything about yourself, or are you good with this?
No, I think that's good. Thanks for everyone joining this morning. Happy Friday to everyone. So I'm looking forward to it today.
Okay, thanks, Barbara.
Okay, so yeah, I'll just take it a start here. So we're just going to start here with a few poll questions. So just to start things off, we just wanted to ask everyone that's attending, have you ever heard about N2? Oh, I don't know if we're going to pull up any questions. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. So I don't know here. I think a poll just popped up.
Yeah, so I have the polls, so I'll just let me know when you want to share the polls, and then I'll stop sharing and share the results.
Let's just give it a, oh, perfect. That's great. Awesome. So it looks like a good chunk of you have heard of N2. And for those of you who haven't, I hope that you've learned something new. And for those who haven't, have heard of N2, then I hope you still learned some neat things today. So let's just go on to our next one. This is just something we wanted to ask, is we're just curious to know, you know, is anyone here who's attending, are you a member of N2 currently? We'll just give it a second here. I think that's probably pretty good. Awesome. So likewise, so a good chunk of us here are members here. So I hope, you know, we still learned something really interesting today, and hopefully something very helpful for you guys. So thank you. Okay, so just wanted to go over just kind of what we were going to talk about today. It's a very high level overview about N2 and what it means to be an N2 member within our community. We're going to talk about what kind of tools that we have, our committees and resources that we have available, and as well our various communication channels. And then just, we really wanted this had a really organic conversation, and then you can contact us if you have any further questions.
Super. Thanks, Barb. So I'm going to take it away with the organizational overview. A lot of you are familiar with N2, but we'll kind of review how we work as an organization. We are a not-for-profit incorporated entity, and our goal is really to enhance Canadian clinical research capability and capacity. Our network provides a forum and platform for others to share best practices, resources, research-related content. Overall, our goal is to ensure efficient and high-quality research is done. And we really want to be able to provide a national voice for our membership to advocate on issues that are important to them. And N2 is primarily a volunteer-based and run organization. So our vision and mission, our vision is really to be Canada's alliance for excellence in clinical research. And our mission really is to enable and enhance clinical research capability and capacity in Canada. We have three major strategic initiatives. N2 has been around as an organization for just over 10 years, and we are just completing a second iteration of our strategic plan. It's really important for me to stress that the strategic plan has really been shaped with input from our member organizations. So our three strategic pillars are advocating for quality outcomes in clinical research, being that national voice for clinical research, and shepherding a national clinical research alliance. So just to give you a bit of background, actually over the past almost 2 years, we've done a lot of work with our members, whether that's surveys, in-person meetings, one-on-one phone calls, to really make sure that our strategic pillars meet their needs, and then developing an operational plan so we can execute on those strategic pillars, again, in a way that meets the needs of our member organizations. So what does our organization offer? We're going to talk a lot about specifics on networking, committees, tools, and resources. And so this is just basically a really high-level overview for you here. Probably a lot of why our members join is for the resources and tools that we offer. And we know that people across the country doing clinical research face common challenges. So we have been an organization that's been able to develop resources to help people meet those challenges. Again, we'll talk about the environment that we've created for sharing, not only tools and research, but also experience, expertise, and best practice. And then there's a variety of networking opportunities. You'll see when Barbara talks about our community, we have members from a variety of organizations that conduct clinical research. And so she'll talk about the breadth of that as well. This is our board of directors, and you'll probably recognize a number of these familiar faces. We have a skills-based board. They're nearly representative of all the regions and territories and provinces across Canada. They are a volunteer-based group. It's myself, Barbara, Shelley, and sometimes there's project managers as well who are paid to do work within the organization. But we really are a primarily volunteer contributing organization. Again, we'll talk a lot later about the committees within N2 and what they do. This diagram here represents the current active committees within N2, and these are all comprised of volunteers who drive their agendas. They're often representatives of member organizations, and they really also develop a number of tools and resources or generate the ideas for those tools and resources that we'll talk to you about today. And as I mentioned, Barbara's obviously very involved in the communications committee. I've been very involved in the past with the clinical trials education and awareness committee, and Patty O'Hara has been very involved with the education and training committee as a project manager. I'm going to pass it over to Barbara now to talk about the N2 community. So actually, before I do that, I'll just open it up. I haven't seen any questions come in, but this is kind of a natural break. So happy to take any questions if you have any about just our N2 as an organization. And if not, I can certainly pass it over to Barbara to continue on with our community.
Sure. Thanks, Dawn. I just wanted to wait a second there. Oh, perfect.
We've got a question about how one can find out about volunteer opportunities. And Naomi, I can tell you that if you're interested in volunteering on any of the committees or learning more, I'm going to direct you to Shelley King. And Shelley's email address is Shelley, SHELLEY.king@n2canada.ca, and she'll be able to plug you in with the right individuals if there's a specific committee that you're interested in there.
And that's awesome. Just to add to that, we're always looking for volunteers, so that it's great when people are engaged in the process with that, and help to make new tools and resources. So if anyone else is interested, feel free to contact. Okay, so just to go over really quickly, so N2's member organization, we're continually changing and evolving, and we're continuing to grow our community. I've only been with N2 for just over a year now, and we've grown, I think, just over 10 new members in the year, so it's great to see that growth. So right now we're at 130 member organizations that are all varied and diverse from a variety of different industries. So so we are a Canadian-wide organization with representation in almost every province. And of course, as John mentioned, we do have board members located all across Canada, in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and Quebec. And, as you can see, we're more spread out in the east, with Quebec and Ontario, but this is also reflective of where intensive clinical research is located, and of course we know where our population distribution is located as well. So what really is neat, I think, about N2 is that we have a diverse group of members from a variety of industries. We have small private independent medical clinics, larger research networks, universities, academic centers, hospitals. We have provincial initiatives, and all the way up to large, big pharma and biotech companies. So we do really have a good opportunity for a variety of different networking opportunities between these various industries. So within N2, we do have these, as I was saying, this diverse group, but I like to think of it more of like, a community where members can network with one another. So within N2 membership, there's a variety of things that are available for our members. First, obviously we've discussed about this and we'll talk a little bit more in depth about this, but of course you'll have access to, N2 tools and resources, educational courses through City, as well as the opportunity to have annual conferences and stakeholder webinars. And of course, within all this, what I like is that it gives this opportunity for everyone to be able to network and pool together resources. And through these access to tools and resources, it provides the opportunity to speak to clinical issues with a unified voice.
So I guess with that too, happy to take any questions about N2's community. Otherwise, also happy to continue on to talk about the committees and the various tools and resources that they've developed. So I think I'll probably continue on, and feel free to keep providing your questions as we go. So I talked about the fact that N2 is really committee driven, and the committees are really struck to develop various tools and resources for our membership. This is a picture of the handout that all of the registered attendees for today's webinar received. And it's really just a one-page overview of the tools and resources that N2 provides its member organizations. There's a little bit on there about committees. And we are starting to move into kind of a phase where we're starting to work with member organizations that have implemented some of these resources and tools to provide their learnings and share how they implemented some of these tools at their sites. It can be really different based on the size of your organization, or even any barriers or challenges you face potentially within it. So being able to reach out to other member organizations that are like yours and have done the same, we found has been really helpful. And we're always welcoming feedback on the tools and resources that we put out. They're frequently updated. We'll talk about that. And we're always open to hearing from members and others about what we've developed. So back to this kind of committee structure, and I'm going to walk through the tools and resources and a bit about each of the committees that are here. As I mentioned earlier, these are the current active committees within N2. Some of you may recall there has been a permission to contact committee, and there has been a metrics committee in the past, among others. I like to say that those are hibernating for the time being, and when or if it makes sense to bring those committees back into an active state, that will certainly happen. But we'll talk about some of the tools and resources that those sleepy committees have also built. So the quality committee, and each of these slides is structured really similarly. We've got who the volunteer chairs are at the top, and you may recognize your colleague's name there. And the quality committee has been really a great resource to provide constructive advice and mentorship about research quality and compliance. And they're open to having discussions with members about what they've done, how they've implemented tools, and to help improve existing processes there. So this particular committee has a lot of experience in regulatory agency visits or inspections. So they often act as a mentor for N2 members preparing for regulatory agency visits. They have had a subcommittee on internal quality assurance programs, and so they've got quality management tools and resources. You can send them emails asking for questions or feedback on their experiences, and they're always happy to collaborate on other initiatives and work in ways to collaborate rather than reinvent the wheel, so to speak. The Clinical Trials Education and Awareness Committee, also known as the CTEA Committee, is chaired by Daniela Bianco. And the real goal here is to create and execute on a national clinical trials education and awareness strategy. So we've spent a significant amount of energy over the past few years to build tools and resources that any of our members can use and can point to as trusted resources about clinical research. And I'll show you some of those on the next page here. Some of this committee's tools and resources are very public facing and obviously available to anyone. There's a bilingual website. It starts with me. The French version is Ça commence avec moi. And we actually had a small CIHR SPORE grant that allowed us to collaborate with patients and caregivers to develop this website. So it was clinical research professionals in collaboration with people with lived experience as it related to clinical research. And we spent a significant amount of time building this website so it could be a trusted resource that any of our members, or quite frankly beyond, could point to. We have a number of health charities and patient organizations that also reference this site within their own materials. So that's the very public-facing resource. And you can see in the picture too, there's a short YouTube video that we also created that's embedded in the site. And it's available in English and French and with and without subtitles. So it's available on YouTube, but it's also available, the actual video file, to our N2 members. And we have some members that loop this at their sites in waiting rooms, or who've also added their own logos and a few frames on at the end of the video to make it more applicable to their site. So they've got some information about clinical research at their site there. And the same goes for the other kind of compendium of downloadable tools that we've got for N2 members here. We've got a pamphlet, and you can see the picture here. It's like a trifold, and it's branded just like that It Starts With Me website. It could be co-branded by N2 members. And we've also had N2 members change some of the wording, again, so it's more applicable for their site. So we've had a pediatric hospital change some of the images and change some of the wording in it. We've had people do that with the video, and then we've got a postcard also that people can download and use. And again, our point is to help our members be able to spread information and reliable and trustworthy information about clinical research. And so that's why we've built these other tools to go along with it. And we've also developed with materials from the Canadian Cancer Clinical Trial Network, or 3CTN, an Ask Me campaign that's based on a similar campaign that they developed for their members. And really what it is there's a Train the Trainer module about engaging people at your specific site or institute with respect to, it could be just research in general, it could be clinical trials, it could be clinical research. So there's a resource kit that's available to members. There are posters or poster templates that can be put up within your organization, and there are buttons that say Ask Me About, could be again research or clinical trials. And we've had a number of members who are in the process of rolling that out or have rolled it out at their sites. And again, they are always interested in helping others by sharing their own knowledge about what they've had to do at their sites to implement it. For example, liaising with the Research Ethics Board to make sure that they're comfortable with the approach, and talking with their communications colleagues, and they're always happy to share their experiences with other members. So the whole point of these resources really is to get people talking about clinical research or clinical trials, and to get people asking questions and be more aware that this might be something that they'd be interested in. And so all the tools and resources that we've developed really for our members are for them to help with that awareness at their own institutions. We have standard operating procedures, or SOPs. Karen Arts is the chair here, and this group develops and maintains a set of N2 SOPs that meet applicable regulatory requirements, and these are generally updated every couple of years or so. And this is a big resource for a number of our sites, that they can simply take these SOPs as is. They've been accepted by Health Canada as is, and they can implement them at their site. So this is a big draw for a lot of members. And this just gives you a bit more information here. In addition to those investigator site SOPs, we also have biospecimen management related SOPs, for which we've worked with the Ontario Institute for Cancer Research, and also with CARA, the Canadian Association of Research Ethics Boards. We've created an REB SOP set, and I have a note here that version 8 of the N2 SOPs will be released in the spring of 2019. So the note on the slide says they're updated every 2 years. So within the next 6 months or so, they're coming due for an update. Another resource that we have that's really quite cost effective for a number of our member organizations is the resources that the Education and Training Committee have developed. And I mentioned previously that Patty O'Hara has been really instrumental in this group's efforts. So we basically have a number of online modules that are provided to our members. And those online modules are provided via the city platform. And this slide here lists all of the modules that are currently available to members for the Canadian environment. So GCP, research ethics as it pertains to basic biomedical, so social and behavioral, responsible conduct of research, transportation of dangerous goods, Health Canada Division 5. There's a privacy and security course for personal health information in the Canadian context. And we've got a clinical research coordinator training program that's coming soon. And that will require an additional cost to members, but a discounted cost to members as compared to non-members. You can see from the numbers here that the courses are highly subscribed to. And if you're familiar with the platform, there are completion certificates that are provided. These are also accepted by Transcelerate for those of you interested in that. And as I mentioned, these are very cost-effective part of being a member of N2 versus taking each of these individual courses as a non-member. And I'm going to pass it over to Barbara since communications is her wheelhouse. So take it away, Barbara.
Thanks, Dawn. So yeah, largely within the communications committee, we're a small but very hardworking committee. We're always looking for new members. But we are responsible for initially the development and implementation of N2 communication strategies for N2, which includes, both the internal and external communications. So that would include items like the newsletter, as well as any kind of social media marketing and management and updates. Some of the big ticket items responsible for otherwise are any marketing initiatives, website updates, as well. And a lot of what N2 does in general, it's really important and involved with the communication. So we're big on community collaboration and support. So, as we've mentioned already, we conduct quarterly stakeholder meetings, the annual in-person meetings, But we're also looking for collaboration and engagement and encouraging others sort of to be involved, which is what's kind of neat is so as an N2 member, you can also be engaged in part of that creation of new tools and resources and other initiatives that go on.
And then just back to permission to contact, this is another resource that's available. I'd mentioned that the permission to contact committee is no longer an active committee, but it did develop a rollout manual. And Rebecca Barnes from BC, who's been very involved as a project manager in BC with respect to permission to contact, was really integral to the development of this manual. So it's kind of like a how-to guide for developing a permission to contact program at your site. And it's just been updated within the last month with input from Rebecca as well. So that's available to members as well. And I think we've got a question here, and I see a number of questions rolling in. So maybe we could do the polls, and then I think we're going to take a pause and then answer some questions too. So Barbara, I'll pass it over to you for the polls.
Barb, I think you're muted.
Oh, I totally am. Sorry, guys. I was coughing. Thanks for that. So now that we have gone over all the tools and resources that we have available, it's interesting because we have a lot of N2 members joining us today. We're just curious to know how many of you have used any of these tools. I think that's probably good. Let's see. Yes, so good chunk. Yeah, that's a good number. So we'll just go to the next one we have here, the next poll question. So we're just curious about which N2 tools you have used. You can pick any or all of them. Obviously, if you haven't used them, if you don't want to, just feel free to not pick anything at this point. And of course, you can pick more than one if need be. I think that's probably good. Okay, so it looks like, yeah, like what we had thought in terms of SOPs and the city courses as well. So only a few people with the quality tools and the permission to contact and ask me. So that's interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, and I think before we move on to communication channels, we'll respond to some questions. So I see that Shelley has popped in and responded to the CRC training. So just to let people know, as I'd mentioned, currently most of the N2 city educational modules are available as part of membership, but for the for the clinical research coordinator course, that has to be purchased as an independent learner. Someone asks about if your institution is a member, obtaining a member login. So I would encourage you to reach out to Shelley, because she'll be able to let you know who your membership representative is, and she can also let you know about member login. And you're right, once you're given a member login to the website, that is where you can find access to these tools that Barbara and I have been talking about. And Shelley is also a great resource if you have any issues finding those tools to help you navigate. We also have a question on what is a permission to contact program. So for those of you who aren't aware, permission to contact is a program where, for example, instead of waiting to approach individuals who are for example, part of a healthcare system, about research opportunities based on if a physician or researcher thinks they'd be appropriate candidates. This is where a database is created of individuals who are interested in research and who indicate they're interested in research. For example, when they seek the services of a healthcare institution. So I can give you an example of one of our members, Holland Bloorview, has implemented the Permission to Contact program. So instead of individuals being approached for research by their physicians or by their healthcare providers kind of on a one-off basis, people are consented when there may not be research available to them, but they're consented to be contacted at some point in the event that there may be a research study that they could be contacted for. And there is usually information in that database about the types of research that they would be eligible for. It might have some of their health information in it. And there are rules and regulations about how or who accesses those databases, and there's all strict regulations around that. But essentially, those people consent to be contacted at a later date about a potential research project if one comes up that they would be eligible for. So hopefully that makes sense. But if you have other questions, I'm happy to answer. Someone's asked about the cost to be a member. I can tell you that the cost of membership depends on if you're a for-profit organization or a not-for-profit organization. And then it also depends on the size of your organization. So probably the best bet there would be if you wanted to contact me offline, and I can give you information about membership specifically for your organization. And there's another comment from some of my colleagues at N2 that thank you for that the CRC course that is coming is applicable to the Canadian environment. So all of the N2 city courses that I provided information on that are part of N2 membership have been developed very specifically for the Canadian environment. And likewise with the clinical research coordinator course that's coming. So hopefully that answered questions. And like I said, if those weren't helpful enough, or if you'd like more details, our contact information will come up again at the end of the webinar. And please feel free to contact us and ask us questions. And Barbara, I'm going to pass it back to you to speak about all of your communications channels now.
Sure, thanks, Dawn. So just as a quick run through, we do try to use any variety of different formats to provide updates and information to our members. So we use Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we use this to welcome new members, provide any numbers or statistics, communicate any N2 events that are specific to N2, but also we're always happy to relay any of our members' events and anything that's applicable to them, as well as posting updates about tools and resources, presenting guides and how-tos, so we're going to be going on to continue to do some more videos for how to use specific tools. And of course, we always try to use it as an opportunity to provide and develop a community and an opportunity for our members to network with one another. So it's just, we look for a variety of different ways to communicate to audiences, and this is just another way to do it. So of course, we'll just go through here. It's just, our Facebook account number and our Twitter account, as well as our LinkedIn and our website that we have available that was updated just a couple of years ago. So I'm always trying to find new different ways to communicate our information and about N2, but also our members. So one of the ways that I came up with this year was initiating something called a Member Monday. And this initiative allows the opportunity for N2 members to learn a bit more about each other, but also it provides an opportunity for, if you have some really cool updates that are going on, it's a really good opportunity. So, please keep an eye out, because we do have really, really neat, interesting members who are making real change in the clinical trials world. And it's really wonderful to be able to highlight them and just see what their great work is looking like. So just we can pause and if there's any other questions at this point, but otherwise we just wanted to make sure there was a good opportunity for all our contact information that we have. Feel free you can email any of us, but also, if you want to pop me a tweet or anything like that, we're more than happy to help you if you have any questions or if you have any other information that you need any help on. So, just with regards to coming back to if you need to get in touch with us, if they're about the resources, if you are a current N2 member or if you're not and you're interested to learn about the tools and need more information, just please contact us. In general, if you are a member and you are familiar with some of the resources and you have some feedback, we'd love to take that feedback as well. And so if you have any questions, we'd love to offline, we're happy to set up a time to chat.
And I think on behalf of Barbara and myself and N2, that's a wrap for our slides. We are happy to continue to answer questions here, or like we've said throughout, we're really pleased to set up offline discussions or respond to emails that way too. We've been asked for the main contact slide, so I'll put that up as well for people. There you go. So this has Shelley's information as well that we've given out earlier too.
And we'd be happy to make these, obviously we're going to make these available. So if you do want, a copy of these, feel free to let us know.
Well, if that's it, I don't see any questions rolling in. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Barb and Dawn, for leading us and sharing what N2 is all about. And yeah, that's I guess that's it for today. So thanks, everyone, again. And Dawn and Barb, do you have any last comments?
No, thanks everyone for joining.
Yep, I echo Barbara's thanks, and on behalf of N2, thank you everyone. We really appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you today, and have a super weekend.
Fantastic. Have a great weekend, everyone.